Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, how to survive the cash flow crunch, cost-cutting measures to save you big bucks, plus the expert tips that make budgeting a breeze. G'day and welcome to a special episode of Kochie's Business Builders, where we'll be taking a deeper look at the issues facing small business owners in 2023. And if cash flow is giving you a headache, join the club, then this episode is for all of us. If you're keen to get the lowdown on how to get your cash flow moving, you might be interested to know that mindset also plays a part in the equation. Your beliefs and past experiences with money impact how you act in business, which translates straight to your bottom line. To get a better understanding of how your intentions impact your cash flow, joining me today as co-host is sought-after money mentor Claire Wood. Now, Claire is an acclaimed speaker, popular podcaster, author of Intentional Profit, and a money mindset guru, plus a CPA qualified accountant and the founder of the Profit Academy. Now, that's an online school created to help business owners increase their profits exponentially. Claire, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
It's great to be here.
Now, you talk about a money mindset. What does that mean?
So your money mindset is basically how you feel about money. So some people feel a little bit scared about money. They've got a lot of fear around money. And it's really important to actually acknowledge how you actually feel about money, your belief framework around money, because that has an absolute knock-on effect to how you perform in business.
Okay. So we all stress about money. We all stress about cash flow. How can we turn that stress, that negativity, into a positive mindset?
So the first step is actually identifying, what are your beliefs around money? Do you feel scared about money? Do you feel really abundant and excited about money? And once you've recognized what your beliefs are around money, then you can start to change them. You can start to say, okay, I feel scared. Why do I feel scared? And what do I need to do differently to step into a different mindset? Because let's be honest, if you're in a space where you're feeling scared, fearful, overwhelmed when it comes to money, you're going to be making your decisions in business from that place of lack. So what we want to do is step into a place where you feel more excited, positive, and then you'll make more abundant decisions.
Okay. So in other words, don't go into the bunker when you're thinking about money.
Yeah.
Think positive thoughts about it all the time. Know in yourself you're going to succeed. So you do talk to a lot of business owners, and I bet a lot of them are in the bunker. What's your first bit of advice to change that mindset? What do you tell them?
And I just want to be super clear here. When I say think positive and more money will come in, obviously.
Don't be Alice in Wonderland.
No, of course not. We need to be practical about our finances.
Right.
But the thing is, if you go into a place of fear and lack and scarcity, well, for example, you might go, let's cut our marketing budget right back. And that might seem like a great decision at the time, but if you cut back on marketing, you're ultimately going to be attracting less clients,
right,
which in turn is going to fuel that downward spiral.
Right.
So this is my point, is that we need to have a positive outlook, but also be practical with the decisions that we're making when it comes to investing in our business.
Okay, so that first bit of advice, what do you give to people in terms of changing the mindset? Is there a practical exercise, a thought process that can kick us off?
I think the first thing is just to be aware of what your thoughts are. So if you are making a decision let's get rid of the whole team, and maybe that is the right decision, but are you doing it from a place of freaking out, everything's doom and gloom, or are you being very logical, looking at your finances and saying, okay, at this point in time, this isn't the best way for me to be investing right now in my business. Right. And so it's literally just framing the decision-making process a little bit differently.
Okay. And is that about writing it down? Do you set time aside for yourself? Do you talk to outsiders? How do you get to that space?
Well, I'm an accountant by trade. I'm a CPA. I'm a big believer in a budget. And I think the best way that you can do this is to actually map out your plan when it comes to your finances. Yeah. So realistically look forward and say, what's coming in, what's going out, And then if things aren't where you want them to be, what can you do a little bit differently to change the trajectory? So do I need to create more revenue opportunities? Or are we in a place where maybe it makes sense to cut back on my expenses?
See, I often think we go to expenses first
Yes.
rather than think of other ways to maximise revenue, because that's the other side of the equation, which is a bit harder, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of the mistakes that most business owners make. When things are feeling quite tough, they say, let's cut all of the expenses, which may be the right decision. But a lot of the time it's very short-sighted. It's actually not looking at the long-term projection of the business, and cutting expenses can actually hurt the business in the long term.
Okay.
So sometimes it's actually a smart decision to continue to invest in revenue-driving activities. And my favourite way to create more profit in business is actually to create new streams of revenue.
Right.
So actually to say, how can I grow my revenue rather than how can I cut my expenses?
All right, great tips, Claire. After the break, intentional profits. What does that mean? And the cash flow crisis, what your small business can do to avoid it. Well, welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. So the figures from Creditor Watch's latest business risk index are out. And although there is positive news with trade bouncing back to pre-COVID levels, cash flow continues to be a major issue for Australian small businesses. Creditor Watch warns that administrations have risen by 35% year on year, with court actions also up by 22%, and late payments continue to amplify cash flow issues. Claire, there's a lot of businesses doing it tough at the moment. What are some of the strategies you reckon we should adopt to solve these cash flow issues? We're all suffering from it at the moment. People are paying later and later.
Look, one of the best tips I have for small business owners is to have a cash flow forecast.
Yep.
Now, I know that sounds a little bit dorky, like an accountant.
But it's so easily done now, isn't it? You just whip it out through your MYOB or Xero. There's really no excuse, is there?
I just think that most business owners aren't really educated in the space of business finances. Yeah. And when you're new to this concept of forecasting cash flow, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I just say to people, learn the skill to forecast your cash flow, have a look at what is coming into your business bank account, what is going out and when, and use this as a tool to be able to see, am I going to be able to afford the bills in my business? Yeah. And if not, what decisions do I need to make to do things differently?
Okay. So one of those decisions may be looking at margins.
Yes.
Is that something that we as business owners sort of lose sight of? We want to get the sale. We want to get every sale, but it's what you make from the sale that makes the difference, isn't it?
100%. And again, this is one of my biggest learnings because, I came from a corporate finance background. And when I came into small business world, I learnt that a lot of business owners don't have a strong handle on what profit actually is. They're so focused, they see the sales number, they think, I'm making 6 figures a year, and don't actually recognise how much of that is converting to profit. So your profit is such an important number, and a separate metric is also your cash flow.
Yeah.
So you need to be right across your profit and right across your cash flow. And one of the best ways that you can look at your profit margin is to say, what's my plan moving forward? Do I need to put my prices up? Do I need to create new products, offerings? Do I need to cut my costs and make those decisions from an educated place?
Because it's finding out the cost of goods sold, is it? Which is simple accounting 101, is it? How much does it cost to produce your good or service?
Yeah.
And building your margin, and the price should be on top of that. Why don't we add up correctly the cost of goods sold and put our own time in it as well?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I work primarily with service-based businesses, and the reason is because cost of goods sold isn't a metric that's used a lot in the service-based businesses. And even for product-based businesses, my experience has been that a lot of times they really struggle to actually capture like the cost of the product plus the shipping plus their own time, that they're excluding a whole ton of costs. And then when it all comes out in the wash, they think, but I'm selling so much. Why am I not making
Why
more
have I
money?
got a cash flow problem?
Exactly. And so really having the understanding, learning this skill set around both profit and cash flow is absolutely imperative if you want to have a successful long-term business.
Now, you talk a lot in your books and your podcasts about setting an intentional profit.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So the term intentional profit I phrased because I think that people think profit and they think, I've got to cut my costs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm an accountant. My background was always like, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? And I know that a lot of businesses now are focused on always creating a profit. So my view is that your intentional profit is your long-term profit. And sometimes that means, like, for example, with a product-based business, you might be buying a bunch of stock in the short term with a view to make money in the longer term. Right. Or with a service-based business, you might be investing, like I did with my book. You know, I invested a lot of money into creating the book with a view that it would deliver a lot to my business in terms of longer-term profit. But the key point that I want to make to people, don't just spend money on your business being like, hopefully someday it'll make me money. It's like, make a plan and work out when this will translate to a positive effect on your bottom line.
And you've got to make it worth it for you.
Exactly.
Claire, great tips. More from Claire coming up. Also, how a Melbourne family business is driving Australia's caravan revolution. Now, you're ready to get back to business. Kochie's Business Builders has all the expert advice you need to set your business up for success in 2023. From marketing to finance to growing your business, if you've got questions, we've got the answers. So head to kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au and subscribe to our newsletter and stay up to date with all the latest small business trends you need to be across to succeed.
Anyone can hook up a caravan, stay on the side of a river somewhere, camp in a field, you know, and spend some quality time with their family. Hi, I'm Michael Prosnick and I'm General Manager of Australian Caravan Centre. Supreme Caravans was officially started in 1985 and we're still manufacturing and selling to this day. It is a family business. Carl, Frank, Rob, Rose, myself, and more generations to come. I think the family part of the business has been very important in the growth. We understand the staff's needs. We make decisions fairly quickly. We can move with the market. We can drop what we're doing and make adjustments to try and keep the product going. How we get to the build stage is something that a lot of people wouldn't understand. From sign-off on your plans and specs to ordering all the products to having everything ready to go for when the chassis arrives. That's a very important part and it helps us schedule so we can meet the deadlines of the customers. We do build some custom caravans, but they're generally to a specification, to a standard model or layout. We've seen a big rise, especially in the young family market, where a lot of people want to have a caravan at home so they can go away every weekend. They don't have to worry about accommodation. They just hook it up and go. A lot of free camping and taking their pets with them as well is a big thing now. As we're becoming more digital, a lot of our online custom information is on our website. So our colours, plans and specs, we communicate a lot with our customers via email, so the connection is very important. If we didn't have internet, we wouldn't have a business. As our business was growing, we needed a fibre connection, just sick of dropouts. And as our business was increasing, the more technology we're using, we can't afford to have that happen. Close to 2 years ago, we found Real ICT. They connected our sites across 4 or 5 locations where we could have a push of a button off one handset. It was simple to use, then provided what we needed to move forward. We made the switch to business NBN Enterprise Ethernet because we needed a business-grade internet service that we could grow our business. We manufacture, we sell, we deliver, and we support our customer. And we're up the East Coast, we're nationwide. Over the next few years, we want to concentrate on opening more of our own dealerships The simple fact is it's a lot easier to service your customer. Without a customer, we don't have a business. So we need to work with our customers, stay connected and learn what the market's doing.
Do you want to know what it takes to build a successful brand? Our First Act podcast shares the origin tales and inspirational stories of Australia's most innovative entrepreneurs. Hosted by Kochie's Business Builders editors Cess Busby and Adam Bubb, these frank conversations take a deep dive into the genesis of success. It's a must-listen for business owners. After the break, Claire Wood returns with more great advice for managing your small business budget. Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the current cash flow crisis facing many Aussie businesses and the strategies you can adopt to help you get through it. Now, Claire is back with some budgeting advice that will help you get on track. Claire, earlier you talked about doing a small business budget. So, should you break it down to sort of immediate, short-term and long-term?
Yeah, so you can create a budget for any period of time. I personally, for a small business, think that 12 months is a perfect period of time to create a budget for, because some of the larger businesses that I've worked with in the past create 10 and 20-year plans. I think for a small business...
I'm not sure I'll be living that long.
I think for small businesses, that's probably
that's too
much. We can't predict that far in advance, but I definitely think that 12 months is a really appropriate period of time to be looking forward in your business. So what I recommend is that you look forward month by month and forecast your income or your revenue and your expenditure by month to calculate what your profit will be.
Yep.
And that is one of the best things that small business owners can do to set themselves up for a profitable business.
And how often should you go back and check it?
So I recommend that you review your budget against your actuals. So that means that what you do is at the end of the month, when you've reconciled all of your accounts, you look back on the month that's just been and check how your actuals performed against your plan.
Right.
So I recommend that you do that at least every single month. And then I revisit the overall budget every single 6 months.
Right.
Because things can change. COVID can hit, financial crises can unfold. And every 6 months, I recommend that you sit down and say, how am I tracking against this original plan? Is it still appropriate for the remaining 6-12 months looking forward?
And do you match your cash flow up against it as well?
Yeah, so for me, the way that I teach this is I teach that cash flow forecasting is looking forward and your budgeting is a tool for looking forward over a longer period of time.
Right.
So I only look forward with cash flow for a couple of weeks. And then with the budget, it's a tool to reflect your performance. So when the month has finished, you look back and you say, how did I track against that plan?
Yep.
And it's important to recognise, and this is going a bit into accounting jargon, but there's a difference between your cash flow and your accrual accounting. So you can use either in small businesses, but having a look back and checking how you tracked against your plan is very important.
What about making sure customers pay and pay on time? Depending on your business, like if you've got a business where customers pay by credit card, you're a retailer or a cafe or whatever, is one thing.
Yeah.
Professional services and trades are very different.
Yeah, 100%.
And often that's the issue we fall into, isn't it? We don't invoice quickly enough, we don't make payment terms clear enough, and we don't chase enough.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. Firstly, I would really recommend that people have a very strong contract in place.
Right.
Because often what happens is that people go to chase up their invoices and it's kind of a bit loose how, what the payment terms were, what the consequences are if people don't pay on time. So firstly, I think having a great contract in place initially and then having a really strong process around recovering your cash.
Right.
So if someone hasn't paid their invoice on time, how quickly do you chase them? What are the measures that you have in place? And how do you ensure that people get paid on time?
Yeah, and stick to it. An accountant gave me great advice ages ago saying, if you do a deal with a customer, right at the very start, before you do any work, you just simply put on the line, you say, thanks very much for the business. I will guarantee we'll do a great job, but sort of, can I give you your responsibility for me giving you a great job and investing in what I'm going to deliver? You've got to pay me on time, and these are my terms. And so you do it right at the very start of the relationship, so there's no issues involved.
And I do think this is, I spoke about at the start about money mindset. This is why it's so important to bring together our money mindset and our actual practical side, because if you think I'm a bad person for recovering my money, well, you're not going to be comfortable chasing them up.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, you're running a business. It's very important to make sure that you're recovering your money on time.
And we're not in the business of being somebody else's bank.
Exactly.
Claire, that is fantastic advice. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me,
you.
Kochie.
It's been a wonderful episode, isn't it? And something that really affects us all. And remember, if you're looking for small business tips or the latest news and expert advice, then you can find them online at koshiesbusinessbuilders.com.au or follow Kochie's Biz on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta and Twitter. See you next time. Next week on Kochie's Business Builders, the pros and cons of taking on debt, how to finance small business growth, plus why your credit score really matters.